complicated one. For instance, what do you do when your loved one refuses to eat? Well, that is the topic that our resident caregiving expert is tackling in this week's edition of Caregiving 101. Of course, we're talking about Starr Calo-oy. She's here and back, always with great information, Starr. We are talking about the idea of eating and what do you do when you have someone you're caring for and you know that food and diet is important to the health of the body and the mind, but what happens when they refuse to eat?
Well, you have to start looking for some reasons why they may not be eating. For one, if you're in pain, you're not going to want to eat, right? So if they wear dentures and they're starting to slip, maybe you've taken the dentures out for a week, 2 weeks or longer, and the gums shrink. So you have to think about that. When you try to put them back in and force them in to eat, well, many times it hurts and they just won't eat. Or if it's just tooth pain. How long has it been since you took them to the dentist?
Right. And I think what I'm hearing you say, Starr, a lot of times you have people who say, oh, well, my mom or dad, he's being stubborn, he doesn't want to eat. There's usually a reason why sometimes.
That's right, exactly. Yes. And that's why we have to be an investigator. Many times, especially if your loved one has dementia and they can't verbalize what's going on.
I was going to say, Starr, how do you read between the lines or find solutions when there might not be that open dialogue?
Okay, we have a checklist in our book, but I'm going to go over them with you right now for our viewers. One of the things is you're going to want to use a smaller plate, for example, and see if that solves the problem. Many times if it's a big plate and it's food, all kinds of food, because we're coming up on Christmas very soon, and you're going to want to load them up with all kinds of food. Many times they'll just won't eat. It's intimidating. It's scary. Also soft foods. Soft foods. You're going to make sure, some people like their food crispy, some like it soft, some like it juicy, some like it drier. Some people like a lot of herbs and seasoning. Is it too spicy? You start investigating all of these things. And then there's all kinds of solutions that you can use. One is, if they have dementia, you're not going to want them around a lot of noise. Get the distractions away from them. Another real big one, Bridget, is, let's say, for example, you've got a steak, and they can still eat steak. Cut it all up in the kitchen before you come out so that you're not standing over them, treating them like a baby and cutting it up, because that'll make you lose your appetite.
Make it easy.
Yeah.
Now what about, how should you approach the idea when you go to the grocery store?
Oh, yeah. That's excellent. Let's say that you've got your loved one and you say, let's go grocery shopping together, and we'll do a menu together. So we're going to shop together. We're going to select the food, make the menu together, and cook together, and then eat together. Bring the kids to the table. I know everybody's going in a million different directions nowadays, but eating together is something that your elderly loved ones were used to do all the time. Even I did, and I'm not elderly yet.
Yes, no.
But we were brought up eating all together at the table, and nowadays everybody eats at different times. So if you really use your mind and get really creative, you can bring it all together to where you make it to where they want to eat. If they are in active dying process, let's mention that. They're not going to eat. Don't force them to eat.
That's a good point you touched upon, because I've been in situations where I have visited people who were making the transition from obviously life to death, and eating just becomes the last thing.
Yes.
And what do you do at that point? You feel powerless, because you know our instinct is to help someone stay alive.
Exactly. Well, when you're sick, many times you don't want to eat. Right?
This is true.
And no one's in there forcing you to eat.
That's true.
So we suggest, do not force your loved one to eat. The body is wise. The body knows no more food comes into this gate. I'm not going to have any more food. Okay?
Yeah, the extraordinary thing about you as an author, Ms. Starr Calo-oy, is that you have all of these wonderful books and your tips, and tips in your books, Caregiving Tips A to Z, and that's how you get a copy of the book, 210-521-8668, and then Caregiving Tips A to Z, Alzheimer's, and other dementia. A lot of good ideas. Now, I do believe you've got some good news.
I've got some
for
spectacular
our viewers.
news. Yes. Well, Bob and I have taught marriage classes in our own home for 20 years. My husband, Bob, who's co-author with me on all the books. And by great request, many demands on our time, we've been asked to develop a show, Marriage 101. So this is what we're doing now. Now we have 2 hours on KKYX every Saturday morning. They can tune in to Caregiving 101's new time is 9 to 10.
Okay.
On Saturday mornings. And then from 10 to 11 is Marriage 101.
And don't you find that people have a lot of questions? There's a great need for that.
Yes,
they just don't
is.
sometimes know where to go.
And we do marriage counseling free of charge, just like our caregiving is.
Excellent. So if you have questions for Bob and for Starr, there are more tips on KKYX 680 AM Saturday from 9 to 10, and Marriage 101 from 10 to 11.
Yes.
Their phone number 210-521-8668. Caregiversadvice.net. They're always taking your calls and looking for ways